Welcome to the Conscious Father Show. This is Tom Hillgardner. I'm with Alex Hurd. We're excited to present the new episode for you tonight. How you doing today, Alex?
I'm doing great, man. And I got to be honest, brother. I'm really interested about what we're talking tonight because it's something that I've thought about the majority of my life, and now that I have children, it's even more on the forefront.
Absolutely, man. Let's go ahead and just jump right in. So you and I had talked about what we wanted to, really dive in together and have a deeper dialogue around. And so what we're going to talk about tonight is how to think outside of the box with our children and with ourselves, and not only think outside of the box, but also put ourselves in new situations and new environments and in new activities with our children and by ourselves that we've never done before, to kind of show our kids that, to create a mindset that it's okay to just jump into something and not know what the heck you're doing.
Yeah. Yep. You know what? So there's something that jumps to mind for me right away. And it seems like a small thing, but it's probably larger than I actually think it is on a bunch of different levels. But for me, ever since I was a little kid, I was always afraid to let loose, tear it up, and dance. I never liked to dance in front of people. Jen and I have been together for 16 years, and with the exception of maybe our wedding, I've never just torn it up and danced with her. And I think I have pretty decent rhythm, but for some reason, I've never been able to get over that hurdle about like throwing yourself onto the dance floor and not caring what other people are thinking, and just kind of having confidence in the fact that it doesn't matter what people are thinking. You're just, as long as you're having a good time, right? I haven't ever been able to get over that hurdle. And last year I went to a daddy-daughter dance with Rowan. Mm-hmm. And that night I just decided, I was like, I'm doing this and I'm doing it for her. But there wasn't one moment of it where I was comfortable.
Wow.
Yeah. I felt like a jackass the entire time. But at least I did that for her. I was tearing it up for her, but I wasn't doing it for me, and I wasn't feeling it. Like I just felt as though I was all over the road.
Yeah. So was your mind like, was there stories about like what other people think about you, which is usually what? Yeah.
So like for me, from day one, the dancing thing, it's really simple. It just comes down to what are you afraid of, right? Like what elicits fear in you. And you can go as deep as you want to go on that regard, because we're only talking about dancing. We're not talking about life and death situations, nothing truly to be fearful of. But so I'm curious to know that simple thing for me, or what I feel as though is a big thing for me. Situations like that, I want to be able to show Rowan that no big deal. No big deal. But if I can't yet really show it to myself, how can I show it to her?
And how do you feel like it would change your relationship with her and her perception of you and herself if you were to embody that sort of ideal state of not caring about what other people think and being, just throwing yourself out there and dancing like you'd said? How do you think that would change things?
Well, that's the truth, right? Like the thing is, even though I did it, I threw myself out there and I was dancing, but people, I think, can just naturally tell authenticity. And if I was able to instill in her, and along the way instill in myself, the idea of it truly is okay to take your shot, to go after it, to be confident. Part of confidence is knowing that you're not always going to succeed, and part of confidence is knowing that you might look like a lunatic sometimes dancing. Yeah. But if you're able to truly instill that by your actions to your children, then that is going to build a foundation of confidence and in trust that that is going to open doors for them and not close them.
Yeah. It's kind of funny that where you went with this, with the dancing, is kind of similar to what inspired this conversation for me. And there's a second thought that I'll get to in a little bit later, but I've always wanted to sing in front of people, you know. And I've sang in the car and I've sang in the shower, and when I do, I think I've got a pretty darn good voice.
We all do, of course.
No, I mean, but I've always wanted to be in a group, in a choir, and truthfully, I grew up in a part of the country that is a little bit more conservative, and there were a lot of inner thoughts that I had around, judgments of being labeled certain things that I looked at as negative or bad that kept me from really going after singing. And not that I've ever wanted to be, the next like Bon Jovi or, rock star or anything, but just like to face that fear of caring what other people think about me and having fun. And about 3 weeks ago, a number of things led up to this, but 3 weeks ago, I went to the very first men's barbershop quartet rehearsal group.
Cool.
It's like 2 miles from my house, and it's every Wednesday night for 2.5 hours. And, there's like 18 guys, and most of them are about 30 years older than me. But it's like there's such an innocence in the group that they're just getting together. They're just normal old guys. They're not out to be the next greatest, gold, platinum, or whatever. They're just there to have a good time and have fun. And I'll tell you what I gathered of that experience was I felt so alive when I left. There was a couple of moments where they asked me to get up in front of the group with a couple other guys and sing, and I embraced it. Yeah, I did, and I'm really grateful that I was able to embrace it. I embrace it, and it's funny because when you embrace something, usually the look on people's faces in the crowd is not like you're doing good. Usually, when you embrace your power, when you embrace yourself, there's almost this sort of like no emotional experience going on. So I'm looking out there and I don't know how they're, receiving me or whatnot. And then afterwards they were like, wow, you're really good. Are you sure you've never sang in front of people before? Yeah, it was a really positive experience for me. Thank God. 'Cause I don't know if I would have ever gone back.
Train wreck.
But, the next day I found myself like singing to my kids from a different place. Like I sing to my kids before I sung to my kids, but I sang to them from this different place of confidence. And I thought, man, this is really important, not only to put my kids with me in different environments where I'm, maybe insecure, or maybe I've just never done it and I've never known about it, but in the moment it presents itself. But also doing things without the kids, how that changes my mind and how it changes my confidence, and then how that spills over to my family.
Yeah, there's I've shared this story with you several times ever since you sent it to me. But several years ago we were sitting around my kitchen table, and it was the kids were young at the time. I mean, Rowan was probably 5, Amron was 2.5, and I remember saying just that I feel as though they're going to be able to accomplish anything, but I don't feel that for myself. Just kind of something like that. And I remember just as clear as day, you just said, I don't mean to be argumentative, but if you don't feel that for yourself, then you can't possibly feel it for your children, because they need to be able to see that it's a possibility. They need to be able to learn that it is real. It is a reality. It's by trying, you're creating opportunities in finding your way. And that always stuck with me. But I think that has a lot to do with what we're talking about right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really powerful thing to sit with. Like we all want the greatest for our children. We want them to succeed, whatever that means for you as a parent. We want them to be happy. We want them to go out in the world and shine their light the way they do when they feel comfortable and confident, when it's just us in the house, whether they're running around in their underwear or, just being their normal goofy selves. We want them to take that light out into the world. And I think as parents, one thing that's really kind of hit me is that it's not like it's 100% reliant upon me. They're their own individual selves.
Sure.
And they're going to have their own life experiences that may ensure them well beyond my confidence level. They may go well beyond and above that. But I think as a parent, we serve in these particular years that they are sponges. Their minds and their consciousness is everything we say holds a huge amount of significance to them.
Yeah.
And so for me as a parent in these younger years, and I think it goes on even as they become young adults too, but particularly in these young years, I want to feel for myself that I'm on a path of growth. That it's not like I have overcome all of my fears and I'm the best dad, but that I'm on a track where I am leaning into what's something that makes me a little uncomfortable. What's something that brings me a little to my edge, and how can I go towards that in a way that doesn't, overwhelm me and make me want to put the covers over my head and sleep all day, but also doesn't make me feel like it's a piece of cake, something that kind of revs, it kind of revs my engine a little bit.
Yeah. I don't know if I have the answer right now. But I mean, is for you? I know you mentioned the choir, but is there something that you can think of that brings you to that edge right now?
Because
I know I'd have to sit with it for a little bit.
Yeah. I think, right now the thing that feels most alive, and I'm still kind of being in that, is the singing,
Yeah.
and then taking it a step further, and not just in a practice group with the guys that I'm singing with, but then going and singing, publicly out and about. I think that's kind of the next level. But another angle, I'm going to kind of go just a little sidetrack here. A thought that I had when I think of my kids and sort of the idea of being a molder of their confidence and their light shining in the world. It's not always about the fun activities, it's not always about the singing and the dancing, which are great, or public speaking, or, if I feel like I'm horrible at painting or art, maybe taking a painting and art class and doing it with the intention of listening to those voices in me that say, you suck, you're terrible at this, right? I'm just kind of going off there. But a couple of years ago, I actually went out of my way, out of a place of wanting to learn and explore. I went to a mosque, and I sat. I went through the whole ritual, the whole ceremony, or the service, and then afterwards, I sat for like 2.5 hours with 3 of the members of the Muslim church. I don't know exactly what you'd call church or mosque, I guess. But I sat down with them for like 2.5 hours, and I just talked with them about their beliefs and about the community. And I didn't come from a place of wanting to necessarily join, but just, it was, again, one of those things that was, I didn't grow up around that. I didn't have that in my environment. And it made me think now as a father that I want my children to not just have narrow eyes of one religion or of one way of life, whether it's, religious or education or whatever. I want my children to go out in the world, and when they see someone, that they go, I've never seen someone that wears something like that, or I've never seen someone that eats like that or talks like that, or, whatever, that it's not something that makes them shy away or generate judgment in a negative way, but it makes them curious to go and meet these people, right?
You're not even talking about like pushing them outside their comfort zone in a situation like that. You're talking more about exposing them to things that they perhaps don't have a lot of exposure to yet. And sometimes we need to be the driving force to open those doors of experience and exposure.
Absolutely, man. And that's one of the reasons why I went to the mosque. And that's one of the reasons why in my life, if I meet someone that's from a different culture or clearly has some way of life, and I'm fortunate that I've been able to travel all around the world to different countries. So I've had firsthand experience of being in their motherland and learning from them firsthand, but coming back and also living in Chicago, one of the most diverse cities in the country. But really, like, it starts with me. if I'm the kind of person that only hangs out with a certain kind of person, that looks a certain way, that talks a certain way, that worships or has their spiritual life in a certain way, then most likely my children are going to find a sort of distance from them to the other. And I think the world that we're going to, and the way that the world is evolving today, is we're becoming more and more and more of a melting pot. Not just the United States, but the entire world is becoming more of a melting pot. So, just holding that space to think outside of the box, live outside of the box, go after outside of the box, go volunteer at a church or at a local community company or organization that is, predominantly of a different ethnicity than yourself,
Yeah. I mean, I think for our purposes here, to kind of get the ball rolling. I mean, tomorrow, starting tomorrow, both you and I, with a level of intentionality, can choose one thing to do that, whether it's for our children, or revolving around our children, or for us individually. And each of us can decide what that is, but just tomorrow, choose one thing that is a challenge, pushes us out of our comfort zone, is something that we're exposing ourselves to for the first time, our children for the first time. And it doesn't have to be grand, but It can be one thing.
Yeah, exactly. I love that reminder that it doesn't have to be grand. It can be something that might, feel small, but the ripple effect that it'll have on you and your children and your family will, in the world for that matter, will be, quite significant.
Yeah, it's great, man.
So, hey, man, thanks so much. This has been a great conversation. I hope our viewers have enjoyed this conversation. And I personally hope that you as a viewer are thinking about, what you want your children to be exposed to. And again, that can be in the category of fun and getting outside of the box, or it can be not necessarily fun, but can be important.
Yeah, right. Or just, in conclusion for me, with my daughter at 7 and 5, I'm starting to see the things that scare them and challenge them a little bit. And if I can just start the process of redirecting that, I'm going to own that and start that process.
That's beautiful, man. That's wonderful. That's great.
All right, brother.
All right, Alex, it's been real, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. I'll talk to you.
All right, take care, everyone.
Thanks.